In the vast emptiness of space, a dark shadow loomed over countless planets. This shadow was the Galactic Empire, a force so powerful that entire solar systems trembled at its name. For 10,000 years, the Empire had ruled with an iron fist, crushing anyone who dared to oppose them. At the heart of the Empire stood Emperor Zix, a being of immense power and cruelty. His body was more machine than flesh, a testament to the advanced technology that kept him alive for millennia. Emperor Zix sat on his floating throne, surrounded by screens showing the countless worlds under his control. The Empire's capital was a massive space station called the Eternal Citadel. It was larger than most planets, with spires that reached into space and engines that could move it across galaxies. The Citadel was home to trillions of beings from thousands of species, all serving the Empire's endless hunger for power. The Empire's military was a sight to behold. Massive warships, each the size of a moon, patrolled the galaxies. These ships could destroy planets with a single shot from their main cannons. Alongside these giants flew swarms of smaller fighters, numbering in the billions. On the ground, armies of robotic soldiers marched across conquered worlds, their metal feet crushing the hopes of freedom wherever they went. But the true strength of the Empire lay in its technology. They had mastered faster-than-light travel, allowing them to cross vast distances in the blink of an eye. Their scientists had unlocked the secrets of gravity, using it to build impossible structures and weapons of unimaginable power. They had even conquered death itself, with the richest and most powerful among them transferring their minds into immortal machine bodies. Despite their vast power, the Empire was always hungry for more. Their scouts searched the edges of known space, looking for new worlds to conquer and new resources to exploit. It was on one of these routine scouting missions that they first discovered Earth. The scout ship, a sleek vessel designed for stealth, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Its sensors immediately detected signs of life and technology coming from the third planet. The captain, a veteran of 100 conquests, smiled as he prepared his report for the Emperor. Back on the Eternal Citadel, Emperor Zix received the news with interest. Earth was primitive compared to the Empire, but it had something that caught his eye: diversity. Unlike many worlds that hosted only one or two intelligent species, Earth was home to billions of humans with a wide range of cultures and ideas. The Emperor saw this as a valuable resource, one that could be exploited to fuel the Empire's war machine. Plans were quickly drawn up for Earth's conquest. It would be a simple operation, or so they thought. A small fleet would be sent to overwhelm Earth's defenses, and within days, the planet would be just another cog in the Imperial machine. Little did they know that humanity had a few surprises in store for them. As the Imperial fleet prepared for its journey to Earth, excitement built among its crew. Many saw this as an easy mission, a chance for glory without much risk. Weapons were checked, soldiers were briefed, and the massive engines of the warships hummed to life. In the command center of the lead ship, Admiral Kraz, a ruthless veteran of 1,000 battles, gave the order to depart. The fleet entered hyperspace, its destination set for a small blue planet in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. As they traveled, Emperor Zix watched from his throne, a cruel smile playing on his lips. Soon, he thought, Earth would be his, and humanity would learn to bow before the might of the Galactic Empire. Little did the Empire know that their greatest challenge awaited them. Earth, a planet they saw as primitive and weak, was about to teach them a lesson they would never forget. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. As the Imperial fleet raced through hyperspace towards Earth, the blue planet continued its peaceful orbit around the sun. Humans went about their daily lives, unaware of the approaching storm that would change their world forever. It was a typical day at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station when the first signs of trouble appeared. Sarah Chen, a young astronomer, noticed strange readings on her screens. At first, she thought it was a glitch, but as she double-checked her instruments, her heart began to race. Something massive was approaching Earth, and it was moving faster than anything humans had ever seen. Sarah's discovery set off a chain reaction. Within hours, observatories around the world confirmed her findings. Governments scrambled to respond, but confusion and disbelief slowed their actions. Some leaders thought it was a hoax, while others feared a trick by rival nations. As debates raged in capitals across the globe, the Imperial fleet drew ever closer. The first visual contact came 3 days later. Amateur astronomers pointed their telescopes at the sky and gasped in awe and terror. Massive shapes, clearly not natural, were visible against the backdrop of stars. Photos and videos spread across the internet like wildfire, and panic began to set in among the general population. World leaders finally came together in an emergency United Nations session. As they argued about how to respond, the decision was taken out of their hands. The Imperial fleet entered Earth's orbit, their massive ships blotting out the sun in many areas. Admiral Kraz, leading the Imperial fleet, was surprised by what he saw. Earth's military forces were primitive compared to the Empire's technology, but they were more advanced than expected. He watched with amusement as Earth's nations scrambled their jets and activated missile defense systems. These weapons, he knew, would be useless against Imperial shields. The Admiral decided to make a show of force. He ordered a single destroyer to descend into Earth's atmosphere. The ship, larger than any human structure, hovered over New York City. Its presence caused widespread panic, with millions fleeing the city in terror. But humanity's response surprised the Imperials. Instead of surrendering immediately, Earth's militaries mobilized. Fighter jets from several nations approached the Imperial destroyer, even though their weapons had no hope of penetrating its shields. Admiral Kraz was impressed by their bravery, if not their intelligence. Meanwhile, on the ground, an unlikely alliance was forming. In a secret bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, military leaders from traditional rival nations sat side by side. They knew that facing this threat would require a united Earth. As they planned their defense, reports came in of similar meetings happening around the world. The Imperials, confident in their superiority, made their first mistake. They underestimated Earth's electronic warfare capabilities. A team of hackers, led by a brilliant teenager named Zach Wong, managed to breach the communications of a smaller Imperial ship. The information they gathered was limited but crucial. Earth now had its first glimpse into the Empire's technology and plans. As the first day of the invasion drew to a close, humanity stood on the brink. Imperial ships controlled the skies, their weapons capable of destroying entire cities. But on the ground, humans were rallying. Military forces were mobilizing. Scientists were working around the clock to understand the alien technology, and ordinary citizens were volunteering in droves to support the war effort. Admiral Kraz prepared to launch the ground invasion. He expected it to be a simple operation, a quick subjugation of a primitive species. He had no idea that humans had a long history of resisting invaders, of fighting against overwhelming odds. He didn't know about humanity's ability to innovate, to adapt, to survive. As night fell across Earth, people looked up at the stars, now hidden by the hulls of Imperial ships. Parents hugged their children tight, soldiers checked their weapons, and leaders made solemn addresses to their nations. The greatest fight in human history was about to begin. Little did the Imperials know, but their easy conquest was about to turn into a nightmare. Humanity, with its back against the wall, was preparing to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate the human spirit. The stage was set for a battle that would be remembered for millennia to come. The sun rose on the second day of the invasion, its light glinting off the hulls of the Imperial ships that filled Earth's skies. Admiral Kraz, confident in his overwhelming superiority, decided it was time to begin the ground invasion. He gave the order, and thousands of dropships began descending towards Earth's surface. The first waves of Imperial troops landed in major cities around the world. They expected an easy victory, but they were in for a surprise. In New York, a group of Imperial soldiers marched down Fifth Avenue. their energy weapons at the ready. Suddenly, from the windows and rooftops, a hail of gunfire erupted. Ordinary citizens, armed with whatever weapons they could find, fought back fiercely. Similar scenes play out across the globe. In Tokyo, Imperial troops found themselves caught in narrow alleys, ambushed by determined defenders. In Lagos, Nigerian soldiers used their knowledge of the terrain to lead the invaders into deadly traps. The Imperials, used to fighting on open battlefields with advanced technology, struggled to adapt to urban warfare against a desperate enemy. Meanwhile, Earth's militaries launched their counterattacks. Fighter jets, although primitive compared to Imperial ships, swarmed the invaders in overwhelming numbers. While many were shot down, some pilots managed to score lucky hits. An Australian pilot, flying an old F/A-18, managed to find a weak spot in an Imperial dropship's shields, sending it crashing into the outback. On the ground, tanks and artillery pounded Imperial positions. The alien invaders found that while their technology was superior, Earth weapons could still be deadly in large numbers. A division of Russian T-90 tanks, hidden in the forests outside Moscow, ambushed an Imperial convoy, destroying several vehicles before disappearing back into the trees. But the Imperials were far from defeated. They brought their heavy weapons to bear, and entire city blocks were vaporized in the blink of an eye. In London, the Houses of Parliament were reduced to ash by a single shot from an orbiting destroyer. The devastating power of the Empire was on full display, and for many, hope began to fade. Yet in the face of this overwhelming force, humanity's spirit only grew stronger. In the ruins of destroyed cities, survivors banded together, forming resistance cells. They scavenged Imperial technology, trying to understand and adapt it for their own use. In a hidden lab beneath the ruins of MIT, a team of scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer a downed Imperial fighter. The Imperials, for their part, were growing frustrated. What should have been a simple conquest was turning into a costly war of attrition. Admiral Kraz, watching the battles unfold from his flagship, couldn't understand why these primitives wouldn't just surrender. He decided to make an example of a major city, hoping to break the humans' will to fight. The Imperial fleet positioned itself over Beijing, home to over 20 million people. Kraz gave the order, and energy beams from a dozen ships converged on the city. In a blinding flash, Beijing was wiped off the map. The Admiral expected this display of power to finally crush human resistance. But he had gravely miscalculated. Instead of cowering in fear, the destruction of Beijing only fueled humanity's rage. Around the world, people who had been hesitant to fight now took up arms. The ranks of the resistance swelled, and attacks on Imperial forces intensified. In orbit, Earth's fledgling space forces launched a desperate mission. A team of astronauts, led by veteran Commander John Martinez, piloted a shuttle towards one of the smaller Imperial ships. Using the skills they had honed on the International Space Station, they managed to dock with the alien vessel. In a fierce zero-gravity battle, they fought their way to the bridge and captured the ship. This captured Imperial vessel was a game-changer. For the first time, humans had access to working Imperial technology. Scientists and engineers from around the world were quickly brought together to study the ship, hoping to find a weakness they could exploit. As the first week of the invasion drew to a close, both sides were bloody but unbowed. The Imperials controlled much of Earth's airspace, but they faced constant harassment on the ground. Humanity had suffered terrible losses, but their will to fight had only grown stronger. Admiral Kraz, in his orbiting flagship, began to realize that this simple conquest might be the greatest challenge of his long career. And on Earth, as people emerged from the rubble of their cities, a new sense of unity was forming. Old rivalries were set aside as humanity came together to face this existential threat. The battle for Earth was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And the galaxy was about to learn a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the human spirit. As the war entered its second month, Earth was a planet transformed. The initial shock of the invasion had worn off, replaced by a grim determination to survive. In a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, leaders from around the world gathered to plan humanity's next move. The meeting was unlike anything in human history. Old enemies sat side by side, united by a common threat. The U.S. president shared intelligence with her Russian and Chinese counterparts. European leaders worked with African and South American nations to coordinate global defense strategies. For the first time, Earth truly spoke with one voice. The captured Imperial ship had proven to be a goldmine of information. Dr. Amelia Wong, a brilliant physicist from Singapore, had made a breakthrough in understanding the aliens' energy shields. She explained her findings to the gathered leaders, her eyes shining with excitement despite her exhaustion. "We can't match their technology yet," she said, "but we can adapt our weapons to be more effective against it." Her team had already begun modifying existing missiles and artillery shells with this new knowledge. Meanwhile, in orbit, the crew of the International Space Station had become unlikely heroes. Led by Colonel Sarah Martinez, they had turned the station into a spy base, using its instruments to gather crucial intelligence on Imperial fleet movements. Their information had already saved millions of lives by predicting where the next attacks would fall. On the ground, a global network of resistance fighters had emerged. They called themselves the Earth Defense Force, EDF. Operating in small, highly mobile units, they struck at Imperial patrols and supply lines before melting back into the population. Their tactics frustrated the Imperials, who were used to fighting conventional wars. In laboratories and workshops around the world, humans worked tirelessly to advance their technology. The reverse-engineered Imperial ship had sparked a new technological revolution. Scientists made breakthroughs in energy production, material science, and computer technology that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. One of the most promising developments came from an unexpected source: a team of video game designers in Japan, led by Hiroshi Tanaka, had created a neural interface that allowed humans to control machines with their thoughts. Originally designed for gaming, it was quickly adapted for military use. Pilots using this interface could react faster than ever before, giving them a fighting chance against Imperial fighters. As Earth prepared for a long war, Admiral Kraz faced growing pressure from the Imperial High Command. They couldn't understand why this primitive planet was proving so difficult to conquer. Kraz knew that if he didn't show results soon, he would be replaced. And in the Empire, replacement usually meant death. Desperate for a victory, Kraz planned a massive assault on Earth's largest remaining cities. He would throw everything he had at the humans, hoping to break their will once and for all. Little did he know that Earth was prepared for just such an attack. As Imperial ships positioned themselves for the assault, they were met with a surprise. A swarm of small, agile craft rose from Earth's surface. These were Earth's new space fighters, piloted by the best pilots from every nation and controlled by neural interfaces. Though outnumbered and outgunned, they fought with incredible skill and determination. The battle raged across the skies of Earth. Imperial ships, caught off guard by the ferocity of the human attack, found themselves on the defensive for the first time. Several destroyers fell to Earth's surface, brought down by the combined fire of the space fighters and ground-based weapons. On the ground, the EDF sprung into action. As Imperial dropships tried to land troops, they were met with ambushes and traps. Weapons enhanced with Dr. Wong's discoveries proved devastatingly effective against Imperial armor. The tide of the battle began to turn. For the first time, the Imperials were being pushed back. Admiral Kraz, watching from his flagship, couldn't believe his eyes. These primitives, these humans, were defeating the mighty Imperial fleet. As the battle reached its climax, a small team of EDF commandos, led by Major John Chen, managed to board Kraz's flagship. In a fierce firefight, they fought their way to the bridge. Chen found himself face to face with Admiral Kraz, two warriors from different worlds locked in combat that would decide the fate of Earth. As the sun set on this pivotal day, the outcome of the war hung in the balance. Earth had bloodied the nose of the mighty empire, but the fight was far from over. The whole planet held its breath, waiting to see what the new dawn would bring. The galaxy watched in amazement as this small blue planet continued to defy the odds. Earth's preparation was complete, and now the real war was about to begin. The galaxy held its breath as Earth and the Galactic Empire prepared for the greatest battle in the history of both civilizations. Admiral Kraz, humiliated by his recent defeats, had called for reinforcements. The Imperial High Command, finally realizing the threat Earth posed, responded by sending half of the Empire's total military might. As thousands of Imperial ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, Earth's leaders knew this was the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. General Maria Rodriguez, the newly appointed Supreme Commander of Earth's forces, stood before a global audience to deliver a stirring speech. "Today, we face our greatest challenge," she said, her voice firm and resolute. "But we face it together, as one people, one planet. We fight not just for our survival, but for our right to exist as free beings in this universe. Today, we show the galaxy what it means to be human." Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of every person on Earth. From the frozen tundra of Siberia to the sun-baked deserts of Africa, humans prepared for battle. The Earth Defense Force mobilized in full, their ranks swelled by millions of volunteers from every nation. In orbit, Earth's hastily constructed space fleet took up defensive positions. These ships, built with a mixture of human ingenuity and adapted alien technology, were piloted by the best and brightest from every country. Among them was Captain Yuki Tanaka, whose neural interface skills had made her a legend among Earth's pilots. The battle began with a massive Imperial barrage. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes rained down on Earth's defenses. The planet's new shield system, reverse-engineered from Imperial technology, strained under the assault but held. Earth struck back. Swarms of fighter craft, piloted by neural interface, darted between the massive Imperial ships. They were joined by a secret weapon, nanoswarms, tiny robots developed by Dr. Amelia Wong, that could eat through Imperial hull armor. On the surface, the battle was equally fierce. Imperial drop pods landed in major cities worldwide, disgorging legions of robotic soldiers. But the Earth Defense Force was ready. In the ruins of New York, EDF soldiers led by Major John Chen used guerrilla tactics to ambush and destroy entire Imperial battalions. In London, a young hacker named Zach Williams led a team that hijacked several Imperial mechs, turning the aliens' own weapons against them. The streets of Tokyo saw samurai descendants wielding energy katanas, slicing through Imperial armor with ancestral skill and futuristic technology. But the Empire's numbers seemed endless. For every Imperial ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Earth's defenses began to buckle under the relentless assault. General Rodriguez, coordinating the battle from a hidden bunker, knew they needed a game-changer. That's when Dr. Wong made her most audacious move yet. She had developed a virus that could infect the Imperial fleet's AI systems. But to deploy it, someone would need to get aboard the Imperial flagship and plug it directly into their mainframe. Captain Tanaka volunteered for the mission. In a daring raid, she and a small team of elite pilots fought their way through the Imperial Armada. Tanaka's neural interface skills allowed her to outmaneuver ships 10 times the size of her small craft. As they approached the flagship, Tanaka's team provided cover while she made the final approach. Imperial fighters swarmed around her, but she dodged their fire with inhuman precision. With a final burst of speed, she crashed her ship directly into the flagship's hangar. Alarms blared as Tanaka fought her way through the ship's corridors. Imperial guards fell before her, their energy weapons no match for her neural interface-enhanced reflexes. Finally, she reached the main computer core. As Tanaka uploaded the virus, she came face to face with Admiral Kraz himself. The alien commander, his cybernetic body bristling with weapons, attacked with all his might. Tanaka, armed only with her neural interface and a stolen Imperial energy sword, engaged in a duel that would decide the fate of two civilizations. Their battle raged as the virus spread through the Imperial network. Ship after ship fell silent, their systems corrupted beyond repair. The Empire's mighty armada, which had conquered 1,000 worlds, was being defeated by a single human with a computer virus. As the battle reached its climax, the outcome hung in the balance. Earth had bloodied the nose of the Empire, but victory was far from certain. The entire planet watched and waited, hoping against hope that their bravery and ingenuity would be enough to secure their freedom. The great battle had begun, and with it, the future of Earth and the entire galaxy would be decided. The battle that would decide the fate of Earth had reached its zenith. Captain Yuki Tanaka, her neural interface glowing with electric blue light, faced off against Admiral Kraz in the heart of the Imperial flagship. Their duel was more than just a fight between two individuals. It was a clash between two civilizations, two ways of life. Kraz's cybernetic body gave him incredible strength and speed, but Tanaka's neural interface allowed her to predict his moves before he made them. Their energy swords clashed in a dazzling display of light and skill. As they fought, Dr. Wang's virus spread through the Imperial network, shutting down ship after ship. On Earth, the tide of battle began to turn. The Imperial forces, cut off from their command structure by the virus, fell into disarray. The Earth Defense Force, fighting with the desperation of those protecting their homes and families, began to push the invaders back. In the skies above New York, a young pilot named Miguel Sanchez led a squadron of Earth's new hybrid fighters against an Imperial destroyer. Using tactics inspired by the swarm behavior of bees, they overwhelmed the massive ship's defenses and brought it crashing down into the Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, in the mountains of Tibet, a group of monks who had mastered both ancient meditation techniques and modern neural interfaces used their combined mental powers to hijack an entire battalion of Imperial mechs. The sight of these massive war machines performing Tai Chi in perfect unison would be remembered for generations. Back on the Imperial flagship, Tanaka finally gained the upper hand against Kraz. With a move that combined the grace of a ballet dancer with the precision of a surgeon, she disarmed the admiral. Kraz, defeated but defiant, spat out, "You may have beaten me, human, but the Empire will never fall." Tanaka, her eyes filled with determination, replied, "We're not trying to make your empire fall. We're showing you a better way to rise." With that, she activated the final stage of Dr. Wang's virus. Across the Imperial fleet, something extraordinary happened. Instead of simply shutting down, the infected ships began broadcasting a message. It was a compilation of human history, culture, and achievements. From the pyramids of Egypt to the moon landing, from Shakespeare's sonnets to Einstein's theories, the very best of humanity was beamed into every Imperial mind. On Earth, General Rodriguez watched in awe as the Imperial ships stopped firing. "What's happening?" she asked Dr. Wang, who was monitoring the virus's progress. "We're not just defeating them," Wang replied with a smile. "We're teaching them." As the broadcast continued, something unprecedented occurred. Imperial soldiers began laying down their weapons. Some even started helping the humans they had been fighting moments before. The virus hadn't just shut down their systems, it had opened their minds. In orbit, Captain Tanaka escorted a stunned Admiral Kraz to Earth. As their shuttle descended, Kraz saw not a defeated planet, but a world alive with potential. Cities lay in ruins, yes, but everywhere he looked, he saw humans working together to rebuild. There was an energy, a vitality that he had never seen in all his centuries of conquering worlds. The shuttle landed in front of the United Nations building in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered to meet the imperial leader. But this was no surrender ceremony. Instead, General Rodriguez stepped forward and offered her hand to Kraz. "Admiral," she said, "we invite the Galactic Empire to join us in a new kind of alliance, not one based on conquest, but on mutual respect and learning." Kraz, still processing everything he had seen, slowly reached out and shook her hand. It was a gesture that would change the course of galactic history. In the days that followed, Earth began the long process of rebuilding. But they were not alone. Many Imperial soldiers and citizens, inspired by what they had learned about humanity, chose to stay and help. The exchange of knowledge and culture flowed both ways, as humans and aliens worked side by side to create something new and beautiful from the ashes of war. Cities were rebuilt with a blend of human and Imperial architecture. Schools were established where human children and young aliens could learn together. The technology that had been used for war was repurposed for exploration and discovery. As news of what had happened on Earth spread throughout the galaxy, other worlds that had suffered under Imperial rule began to rebel. But these were not violent uprisings. Instead, inspired by Earth's example, they used culture, ideas, and cooperation to transform their societies. The war was over. Humanity had not just survived. They had shown the galaxy a new way forward. Earth, once a forgotten planet on the edge of the galaxy, had become a beacon of hope for billions of beings across the stars. As the sun set on this new era, Captain Tanaka stood on the observation deck of a new spacecraft. Built with a combination of human ingenuity and Imperial technology, it was the first of Earth's true starships. Its mission: to explore the galaxy not as conquerors, but as teachers and learners. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and the greatest adventure was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the great battle for Earth. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The once mighty galactic empire had transformed, reshaped by the ideas and values it had encountered on that small blue planet. On Centauri Prime, the former capital of the empire, a grand meeting was taking place. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in a vast hall, its architecture a blend of imperial grandeur and Earth-inspired openness. At the center of the hall stood a circular table, symbolizing the equality of all beings. Admiral Kraz, now the leader of the reformed empire, took his place at the table. Beside him sat General Maria Rodriguez, Earth's representative. The two former enemies, now close friends and allies, shared a smile as the meeting began. "Welcome," Kraz's voice boomed across the hall, "to the first gathering of the Galactic Confederation." This new organization, born from the ashes of war, was built on principles of cooperation, cultural exchange, and mutual respect. Earth, once a backwater planet, now stood as an equal among the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. As the meeting progressed, speakers from various worlds took the floor. A reptilian being from Sirius II spoke of how Earth's music had revolutionized their society. A gaseous entity from the Orion Nebula described how human literature had given them new ways to express emotion. But it wasn't just Earth influencing others. Humans had learned and grown as well. Dr. Amelia Wong presented her latest research, a fusion of Earth science and alien technology that promised to solve the energy crisis for millions of worlds. Captain Yuki Tanaka, now Admiral of Earth's Star Fleet, reported on the success of mixed-species crews. "Our differences make us stronger," she said, her neural interface glowing softly. "We see problems from angles we never imagined before." In schools across the galaxy, children of 100 species study together. They learn not just facts and figures, but understanding and empathy. The neural interface technology, once used for war, now allowed beings to share thoughts and feelings across species barriers. But not all was perfect in this new galactic order. Some former imperial worlds resisted change, clinging to old ways of conquest and domination. A group of hardliners, led by a former imperial general named Drax, had established a separatist movement. The Confederation faced this challenge not with weapons, but with ideas. Teams of diplomats, artists, and teachers were sent to these worlds. They didn't impose or demand, but shared and invited. Slowly but surely, world after world chose to join the Confederation. On Earth, the scars of war were healing. Cities had been rebuilt, more beautiful and sustainable than before. The planet had become a hub of galactic culture and commerce. In the rebuilt New York, humans walked side by side with beings from across the galaxy, sharing food, stories, and dreams. But humanity's greatest impact was in the realm of exploration. The spirit that had driven humans to cross oceans and reach the moon now propelled them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Earth-led expeditions made first contact with dozens of new civilizations, always reaching out with open hands rather than weapons. As the Galactic Confederation meeting drew to a close, a surprise announcement was made. The Andromedans, a highly advanced civilization from the neighboring galaxy, had made contact. They had been watching the transformation of the Milky Way with great interest. "We have long wondered," the Andromedan ambassador said, her holographic form shimmering, "if there was a civilization mature enough to join us in exploring the greater universe. We believe we have found that in your confederation." The hall erupted in excitement. The possibility of intergalactic exploration and cooperation opened up new horizons of discovery and understanding. As the delegates filed out of the hall, Admiral Kraz and General Rodriguez lingered for a moment. They gazed out at the star-filled sky, marveling at how far they had come. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Rodriguez asked. Kraz chuckled, a sound he had learned from humans. "Never," he admitted. "Your people taught us that the greatest power in the universe isn't technology or weapons. It's the ability to grow, to change, to see the best in others and in ourselves." Rodriguez nodded, her eyes shining with pride and hope. "We've come so far," she said, "but our greatest adventures are still ahead." As they left the hall, stepping into a future bright with possibility, both knew that the new galactic order was more than just a political arrangement. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of life itself, ever adapting, ever growing, reaching always for the stars. The story of humanity's stand against the Empire had become legend across the galaxy. But it wasn't a legend of conquest or defeat. It was a legend of transformation, of the power of ideas to change the universe. And that legend was still being written. One day, one world, one mind at a time.